Clearly, I'm biased. I'm too riled up. I'm too emotional. I'm too sensitive. And so, at least at the opening of this discussion, I'm putting that out there on the front line. I'm putting it on the table. Take what I say with a grain of salt. I am just grappling with this idea. All this talk. O'Shea, Duke, Jackson, and others. So, I don't want to say so quick to, although I do feel like it's very quick to, but all this negative talk still coming from, if not immediately and directly from the anti-black propaganda groups of FBA and ADOS, etc. But all this talk about the scamming and the Africans don't like us and the Africans can't stand us. I even saw this one guy having a conversation. He said, like, he invited 100 people to the cookout. And, you know, of the 100 people, it was an event in Africa. So, but it was a mix. But the overwhelming majority of the people were homegrown, born in the country. And he says, so I don't know what the percentages are, but let's just say it was a split. So 50% of them were continental borns and 50% of them were diasporas. So there's your 100. And, you know, good old party, everybody having a good time, this, that, and the other. 2 people who were continental borns. 2 people showed their ass. 2 people acted up. 2 people, you know, were rude and offensive and put on airs and was looking down on the non-continentals. Now, granted, yeah, this is something you call out. You call out the 2 people. If half the room is still full of continentals and y'all are all getting along and they don't like the attitudes and the behaviors and they don't like the comments, but then you take the time to just focus on, that's how y'all Africans is. I'm like, in your own story? So you telling me 2 of the 48 folk showed their ass and you clapping at all of them? That's when I'm like, wait a minute. Here come my bias. Like nobody likes an a-hole. Nobody likes the rude. Nobody likes the obstinate, the arrogant. Nobody likes these types of behaviors and personality traits. But what is this knee-jerk? What is this sweeping generalization about everybody of a perceived group? Anytime and every time one person or 2 people act up. This is why I'm biased. I don't deny that at any point in time you're on the continent. I don't deny that you would you could encounter, you know, scam artists. I don't deny that anytime you're on the continent, you could run into, like, see, over here, we call them coons, but we don't say, we within the black community, when we encounter a coon, we don't say, at least I don't think we say, see, that's why all black people is full of ish. No, we call out. So I'm just perplexed as to why can't we call out the coon on the continent and leave everybody else alone? Why do we gotta say, that's right, that's how all them Africans are, when it was just 1 or 2, when it was just a handful, when it was just a small number? Even if it is a big number in your head, even if it's a big number that you think, well, that's all I see. Now, I'm like, okay, now, if that truly is all you see, I just I got a question. Are you being honest or not? Now, I'm not here to say, I'm not trying to pull the card and be like, well, I deny your experience. That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm doing. And I hope that's not how it's coming off. But I'm like, you can have positive and negative. You can encounter the good ones and the bad ones, but isn't this the truth of everything? I mean, weren't we supposed to learn from Martin Luther King Jr. that we deal with people as they come individually? Now, whether you're pro MLK or anti MLK, that's not the point. Whether you think he's a good or a bad representative, that's not the point. The lessons the world learned from him because of him is the point. Now, if we raise our flag and say, you're going to respect us as the individuals that we are, then we have a responsibility to do the same for others. You know, that golden rule, treat others how you want to be treated. And so again, I'm not saying don't call out a bigot. I'm not saying don't call out a sellout. I'm not saying don't call out an a-hole. Be they from America, be they from Ghana, be they from Nigeria or any elsewhere on the continent. But I'm saying let's call out the people who behave counter to prosperity and peace, who behave counter to respect and solidarity for the individuals that they are. Because they are not representative of the whole. And I say this, okay, so just as I will say, look, don't take what I'm saying as a denial of your experience. But what I'm going to say is I've had my own experiences. I've been in Egypt and I have encountered, I don't want to say the good Egyptians. That sounds a little too colonial to me. But I've encountered Egyptians who felt like, who acted like, who talked like, who dealt with me like we are brothers. And I have encountered the assholes. I have encountered the scams. As a matter of fact, the ones who treated me like brothers, who treated me like we are brothers, when I had a conversation with them about a scam-ish, a scam-oriented, the feeling of a scam, he took it upon himself to go find those individuals. And he rectified the situation. I'm not going to go into all of the details, but he rectified the situation. And so I'm like, okay. And that's not just my example from Egypt. I've had examples. Like I said, this is not like, I'm not the extensive traveler that some folk are, or some folk pretend to be. But I've had these encounters. I had that one in Egypt. I had an encounter in Senegal where a Senegalese brother stepped up and came to my assistance, I should say. I had two encounters, actually. So why would I say, them Senegalese, they don't like us? Because one idiot on the street was trying to get me for some extra CFA franc, for some extra bills, for some extra cheese. When another Senegalese brother on the street was like, nah, we ain't gonna let you do that. Nah, bro, we don't do that shit over here. That's dead. Gave that dude quite the scolding. And he scolded him in Senegalese. I should say, he scolded him in English, he scolded him in Wolof, and he scolded him in French to make sure that the nigga got the message. And so I'm like, again, I've had much the same encounters and much the same types of encounters, much the same types of meetings. I have, the times I've gone to Ghana. Each time I've gone to Ghana, I've encountered one or two assholes. And I've encountered quite a numerous amount of Ghanaians that were absolutely not of this asshole persuasion. So why would I ever say, them Ghanaians don't like us? I could say there are some Ghanaians that don't like us. I could say there are some Senegalese that don't like us. I could say that there are some Ghanaians that just see us as a wallet. There's some Senegalese that might just see us as a wallet or what have you. But this is a full circumspect view. Like I know of there's another African American friend of mine who always jumps to the all of y'all. And they themselves have encountered both. They have good relations with other Africans. But anytime they have a bad encounter, they just fly off the handle and say, all of y'all. I'm like, see, I don't know what it is. I don't know what you call it. But there's got to be, they say cooler heads prevail, or when cooler heads prevail. Some people say, think twice as long as you speak, or something like that. We got to slow down. Everything ain't always about the instantaneous verbalization. Well, this just how I feel. Well, yeah, guess what? Fuck your feelings. Especially if you haven't analyzed them yet. That's what therapy is for. Just because you feel a thing don't make the thing real. It is just how you feel. Well, how about we start moving towards thinking? Animals feel and act. Humans, evolved humans, feel, ponder, consider, contemplate, think, and then act. Adult humans, mature humans, sober humans. Now, if you'd rather just keep acting childish, well, I guess there's room for that. There's monetization in that's for sure. But I'm like, everything ain't got to be about monetization. Like, there has to come a time when it ain't just about the bag. Well, you saying it ain't just about the bag, but that's how they look it up. Again, there you go, running and jumping. It's not an all of day. That's how some of them. And you just have to maneuver around the sum. I mean, just the same. How is it any different with just over here in this country and all of the racism that we deal with? But we don't take too kindly, most of us. There's a few small, teeny, tiny pockets. Most of us don't take kindly to painting all white people with the brush of racist, with the brush of you're responsible for racism. All of y'all are racist. No, most of us won't lean into that type of an idea. Many of us will chastise those of us who try to lean into that type of an idea. Many of us will say, well, hold on, brother. Wait a minute now. It's been some white people that has been on our side for the whole time. Now, if you want to deny either of those, if you want to deny that there are more black people that would caution you against the sweeping generalization, then you're just being stubborn and you're not trying to be honest and truthful in the conversation. At the same time, if you want to deny the fact of the statement, if you want to deny that there's always been some white folk that have been on our side or took our side or tried to aid, then you're just ignorant of truth and factual history. Because most of the movements, especially most of the movements that were centered around acceptance, that were not centered around separation, that were centered around integration, whether you feel a way about integration or not. Most of the movements that have been centered around integrating and living together have only been as successful as they were because of the small number of, the few number of non-blacks, and normally, yes, I mean by white folks, that did something along the lines to keep the train moving, to keep the links well oiled. And so I'm saying that because if we've gotten to the point where we can understand and recognize not all white people will behave and treat you and look at you through a racist lens, then we got to be able to see that that same type of understanding, that same type of mature thinking is required for all people, for all groups. It's required for other black immigrant populations. It's required for your views towards and your dealings with Jamaican immigrants. It's required for your views towards African immigrants and Haitian immigrants. Because at the end of the day, we are all one. We are all one people. Now, that don't mean that we have to force ourselves into some kind of silo. We are all one people, just like your fingers, just like the fingers of your hand. The hand is one hand with separate digits. We are one group with separate digits. We are the hand. Shout out to Booker T. Washington for trying to teach us that lesson, but most of us refuse to listen to him, and we get bogged down into stupid conversations even about him as to whether or not, well, that's not what he really meant. You ain't read none of his memoir. You ain't read none of his private letters. All you read is a couple of talking points from some other babbling mouth idiot. But I digress. By the way, this is protected by the red, the black, and the green with a key. Y'all remember Professor X from the X Clan? This is your brother Shabazz with the proper perspective. If I'm saying anything that interests you, that aligns with you, that piques your curiosities, if I'm saying something that pisses you off, let it be known in the comment section. Hit the like button, hit the share button, and send this to somebody you know of like mind. And subscribe to this channel. These are my morning musings. Haven't quite fully gotten outside. It is a bit cold. I'm trying to reorganize my closet so I can get some more winter clothes, because it seems like winter has come way too soon for me. I thought I would be in some warmer weather until December. But I digress. Anyhow, ladies and gentlemen, you've been listening to my morning musings. I do these morning musings anytime the spirit moves me and I start getting these ideas floating around in my head. And so that is what you've just been listening to. If you agree or disagree, let me know in the comment section, like I said. And then you will get a notification the next time I drop a morning music. Now, I also do some afternoon freestylings and some deep dives at night as well. So again, content is king, ladies and gentlemen. Hit all the buttons. It don't cost you nothing, but it certainly helps me, and it helps the algorithm know what should be recommended. So this is, again, your brother Shabazz. You've been listening to The Proper Perspective. Let us all, please, get a little sober. Let us all, please, grow up a little bit. Disunity does nothing for us and everything for the enemy. Peace.
Shabazz, break it down with the proper perspective. So much controversy and a lot of deception. You don't know who's coming through with the light and reflection, and whose mouth is mumbling, trick knowledge deceptive. Shabazz, break it down with the proper perspective. So